AEW Full Gear starts with the buy-in pre-show, The Factory, QT Marshall, Lee Johnson, Aaron Solo, Cole Carter and Nick Comoroto versus Best Friends, Trent and Chuck Taylor and Rocky Romero and Orange Cassidy and Danhausen, and Danhausen wins with a bicycle kick. Brian Cage versus Ricky Starks and Ricky wins with Rochambeau, Jun Akiyama versus Eddie Kingston and Kingston wins with his backhand slap. After the match, Kingston hypes up the pay-per-view and thanks to fans. Luchasaurus with Christian Cage in his corner versus Jungleboy Jack Perry in a steel cage match, and Jack wins with an elbow drop off the cage through a table, then making Luchasaurus tap with the snare trap. Good match. Pac, Hideo Fenix and Pentagon versus the Elite Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks Matt and Nick Jackson for the Trios titles. Great match, and Fenix wins by hitting Kenny with the ring bill hammer that Pac gave to him. Nyla Rose versus Jade Cargill for the TBS Women's Championship, and Jade wins with Jaded. Claudio Catagnoli versus Bryan Danielson versus Sammy Guevara versus Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World title. During the match, Sammy and Jericho punch on, and Jericho wins with the Judas effect on Claudio. Saraya versus Britt Baker, and Saraya wins with 2 of her DDTs in a row. Will Hobbs versus Samoa Joe versus Wardlow for the TNT title, and Wardlow hits power bombs on Hobbs, then Joe cracks Wardlow with the TNT title because no disqualification in triple threats apparently, and Joe chokes out Hobbs for the win, new champion. Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett versus Darby Allin and Sting in a no disqualification tag team match, and Darby wins with a coffin drop on Lethal. Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm for the women's title. There's interference and help from Rebel and Britt Baker, then Jamie throws Toni into an exposed turnbuckle and wins with her ripcord lariat, new champion. Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee versus the Acclaimed, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens for the tag team titles. During the match, Swerve gives Keith a pair of pliers to use, but Keith doesn't use them, so Swerve slaps Keith and Keith walks away and Acclaimed win with some tag move. MJF versus John Moxley for the World Championship in the main event, and the referee gets knocked over. Then William Regal comes out and gives MJF his brass knuckles, and MJF smacks Moxley with them and wins the match, new champion. We'll see you next time for the next pay-per-view review.